Please, I would like to request all settle down so that we can begin our event. Ushers, I would request you to please make the audience settle down.
Testing.
Assalamu alaikum, and again a very good morning to all of you. It gives me immense pleasure to extend a heartfelt welcome to our esteemed guest of honor, panelists, representatives from government, the diplomatic and donor community, United Nations agencies, stakeholder, honorable guests, attendees, and my dear students on this auspicious event. UNFPA and the Public Health Department of SZABIST are delighted to come together and co-host the highly anticipated launch of the State of World Population 2023 report at provincial level. Today, we are honored to have the presence of our esteemed Madam Minister as a distinguished guest of honor for this auspicious event, marking the launch of the report. Dr. Azra is a Pakistani politician, currently serves as the Provincial Minister of Health for Science and Population Welfare and also Chancellor at SZABIST. Under her visionary leadership, the Provincial Health Department has progressed immensely with a special emphasis of women and child health care, pediatric health facilities, family planning, reproductive health, rescue, 1122 ambulances, and many innumerable achievements. She serves as an inspiration, empowering others to passionately work for the welfare of the province and the country. The proceedings will commence with the recitation of few verses from the glorious Quran.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful.
إنا أعطيناك الكوثر.
Indeed, we have granted you, O Muhammad, Al-Kawthar.
فصل لربك وانحر.
So pray to your Lord and sacrifice to Him alone.
إن شانئك هو الأبتر.
Indeed, your enemy is the one cut off.
Jazakallah khair. The State of World Population Report is produced by a panel of external advisors, researchers, and writers who work alongside UNFPA technical staff, editors, explorers, who actually see how people, the general public, policymakers, academics, and others understand current population trends and how those views can lead to new solutions that build demographic resilience and help shape a more equitable and prosperous future. UNFPA's global flagship report, the 2023 State of World Population, titled 8 Billion Lives, Infinite Possibilities, The Case for Rights and Choices, was launched globally on April 19 in New York and in Islamabad, Pakistan at national level, presenting the latest trends with regards to population growth or decline, fertility rates, reproductive health, family planning, and migration around the globe, as well as the debates and policies those developments are sparking. The report also cautions against trying to control women's bodies to address demographic concerns. Family planning, it suggests, must not be used as means for achieving fertility targets, but as a tool for empowering individuals. Women should be able to choose if, when, and how many children they want to have. The video, which we will run now, captures the narratives on addressing population development and will inspire our discussion today on how to address the population dynamics in Pakistan and in Sindh province specifically.
In 2022, the global population reached 8 billion because people are living longer, healthier lives. Yet alarmist rhetoric is circulating, often blaming fertility rates.
Poor people have too many children. Certain ethnicities have too many children.
Un faible taux de fécondité signifie qu'il n'y aura pas de renouvellement de la
Es
population.
necesario considerar limitar el número de niños.
Are there too many people? Too few? These are the wrong questions. Instead, we should ask whether women are able to make their own reproductive choices. The answer, often, is no. 44% of women can't make choices about their reproductive health, contraception, and whether to have sex.
Como mujer, me dijeron que no era natural para mí no querer tener hijos.
Due to very low fertility rates in my country, contraception is provided in a very negative manner.
Une femme doit souvent changer de trajectoire professionnelle lorsqu'elle veut un enfant.
Yo lloré por años.
Women are not machines for reproduction. Every person should be empowered to create the family and future of their choosing.
Toute personne a le droit de choisir de se marier ou d'avoir un enfant.
8 billion people can be equivalent to 8 billion opportunities.
To this end, we must take forward the constitutional act program.
So without any further delay, I take this opportunity to introduce country representative of UNFPA Pakistan, Dr. Louis Shabani, a native of Palestine. He began his professional career at the Palestine Central Bureau of Statistics. Later, he served with UNDP and then with UNFPA in Iraq, as well as the UNFPA Regional Director of Arab States. Dr. Shabani presented his letter of credence to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Government of Pakistan in November 2022. There is more to your successful journey, which is difficult to summarize in this little time. Sir, I welcome you on stage for enlightening the guests with the highlights from the reports and Sindh perspective.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, Madam Minister, guests, our partners, were Dr. Shahinaz. Thank you very much for allowing us to have this opportunity to speak about one of the most important reports launched by UNFPA. This report is the flagship for UNFPA. It is the main report that UNFPA produces every year, and every year it uses one of the themes based on the development of the population status in the world. This report is historic because it introduces a new narrative about population. Population discussion since 70 years was speaking about birth control, fertility, the trends of fertility, and how is population growth is taking place in different countries. This report says simply, high fertility or low fertility is not a problem, but also it is not a solution. The problem and the solution comes to the fact that if people are enjoying their rights. When couples decide to have a new baby, they do not consult the government. They do not look at the population trends, but they look at their own circumstances. Therefore, our main role as government, civil society, private sector, activists, and UN is to ensure that all couples have the right information, the good services to decide on a basis of informed decisions. If they decide to have 2 children, they should be able to do that. If they decide to have 10, they should be able to do that. If they decide not to have children, also they should be able to do that. How? Through good services, contraceptives, information available, advocacy. They know about the consequences economically, the health of the mother, and so on and so forth. But nobody is entitled to take decision on behalf of any woman. It's her body, it's her territory. She should be able to be empowered to take responsible decision with her husband. Couples are only responsible for that. But the report also presents something very important. It says that we are at a historic moment. 2/3 of the world population are living in countries where fertility is going down. But still, the population, global population, is growing. It's growing slowly, but it's still growing. Having 8 billion on the planet should not be a problem. The report says that the solution for climate change is not with reducing the population size. Simply, most of the population, more than 2/3 of the world population, are living in poor countries, and they do not contribute to climate change deterioration. So the issue of population and demography is not the main factor that affecting the deterioration of the climate change. Of course, having more sound behavior is something very good. Educating people how to behave in a way that is friendly to climate, this is very important. But controlling the birds will not solve the problem. This is what the report says. The other issue that the report says, which is based on research, is that gender equality is a key for fixing most of the demographic indicators naturally. The governments should not plan for families. They plan for the state. The way that they can intervene with the families they can intervene through only 3 entry points. The first one is to provide high quality, sustainable contraception services based on the preference of women. Which method they would like to use, it's their decision. Nobody can impose on women what to use. Second, to make available information about health, family planning, and all matters related that women are able to enjoy their reproductive rights. And the third is to make a reach out to the places where people do not have access to knowledge, do not have access to education. Educating women and investing in women human capital is very important. How this report speaks to Pakistan? First of all, I don't know if you have seen the World Bank report that has been published last month on the human capital. It is one of the important reports that I have seen, and rarely we have seen the World Bank putting one of the most important 3 priorities in a country like Pakistan, that family planning should be the cross-sectional, cross-sectors, vertically and horizontally, as one of 3 priorities for Pakistan. Family planning is linked with food security and nutrition. Therefore, these 2 reports are converging in the case of Pakistan and telling the same story. This report says all people are born equal and entitled to the same rights. How countries will respond to these rights is subject to the culture, religion, the domestic values, and domestic concepts. Tawfiq al-Hakim is one of the prominent writers of Egypt. He was born in 89, and lived for 100 years. And he used to write in a sarcastic way. He says when the British went for the first time to Africa, they started to teach them, don't steal. And then they said, what is stealing? We don't have personal ownership. The river is here, we drink. Trees are here, we eat. Animals are public for everybody. What I want to say, that projecting values and concepts on societies that were not produced by the societies gives the nation a feeling of defeat. And this is why nations backfire. Therefore, while we believe all people were born equal, the way how the countries respond to these rights and ensure that their people are enjoying their rights, it is subject to the local circumstances, the culture, the civilization and heritage, and the way how people would like to do that. The speed and how far nations should go also is subject to the local circumstances. We cannot push to move very fast, and we cannot keep nations behind. Therefore, we would like to have the nation lead the way how they want to lead. This is extremely important, and Nafis Sadiq is a prominent Pakistani, the one who has created UNFPA actually, used to say, you have to look at the rights from the cultural lens. It is very important to respect the culture of nations when you introduce the international values. Therefore, it is very important that this report also speaks about this and says that while people are all entitled to the same rights, the way how we respond to that is subject to the situation. Now, the report says that all nations across the globe have anxiety about population. Those who are increasing are anxious, and those who are decreasing are anxious. In fact, Our friend Shazia Mary invited us for a dinner a few weeks ago. And one of the ambassadors there, he said, look, UNFPA should be held responsible that our country fertility is going very quickly down. And our women forgot their reproductive function. I said, look, those countries who are increasing fertility, they blame us. And those who are decreasing are also blaming us. What we need to do, everybody is anxious. We need to ensure that we are introducing skills, opportunities for women, and if gender equality is fixed in the country, other indicators automatically are going to be fixed. Therefore, the report introduced gender equality as a key based on the research that has been done. My brothers and sisters, Pakistan has a long way to go on gender equality. Although we have too many prominent champion females in this country, still this is not mainstreamed. And there is a lot to be done on this front. Gender equality index for Pakistan is not good compared to most of the countries in the region and also globally. Where we can start? There are two areas that we can start immediately that are very sensitively from the local culture, but also they are very effective. Unintended pregnancies. This has to reach 0. Everybody, when we have unintended pregnancy, everybody doesn't want that pregnancy. The government doesn't want it, and the couples do not want it. How to do that? Better contraception. Unintended and unplanned brings to Pakistan 9 million people. This is an area where we can start. It is very safe. Everybody agrees on that, and it is very effective. The last point which I would like to say, that looking at the outcome of the report and the situation in Pakistan, targeted programming is a must. Pakistan is a big nation. It's at least we have 5 governments, 5 assemblies, and very wide gap in terms of the demographic and social indicators. Therefore, targeted programming is very important. Treating the Pakistan as one blanket will make programming less efficient. Therefore, I would like to seize this opportunity to say that we need to work together. Family planning needs to be empowered, to be made more efficient, to be the reach out for places where unintended pregnancies are widespread is very important. Investment in women, and particularly young people, is very important. Keeping the population agenda in the public talk is important. Unfortunately, most of the work that we are doing in this country is ad hoc. We have a conference here, a workshop here, but we need to have these matters. It needs to be a national campaign. The difference in the experiences that have made more progress than Pakistan, Bangladesh, for example, it was the investment on women. Investment on women, their contribution in the labor market. Already when the Bengali women went out to the labor market, the number of kids has reduced by itself. If we look at Iran, they had the most effective family planning and maternal health system. If we look at Tunisia, we have the most important political commitment. The ex-president Al-Habib Bourguiba used to speak about women empowerment in every single public speech. So there is no model to borrow. But there are models that we learn where they succeeded and where they failed, and we can build our own story within our culture, within our local circumstances, but these matters are important to seize, and this report is an important opportunity for that. I stop here. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. This indeed was a piece of in-depth information delivered by your kind self. Today, the event will be marked by the official launch of the report that will be carried out jointly by UNFPA Pakistan and Government of Sindh. I humbly request our prestigious guest on stage Madam Minister Dr. Azra, UNFPA Country Representative Dr. Shabane, Parliamentary Health Secretary Mr. Qasim Sumro, SZABIST President Madam Shehnaz Wazir Ali, and Head of UNFPA Office in Sindh Ms. Behram Gul. Dear all, please kindly come on stage for the official launch. Indeed, this will have a mark on the event. Please hand over the reports. All of them. Yes. Okay. Dear Madam President, Mr. Shabane, Mr. Qasim, kindly ask you to take your seats. Madam Minister, I would request you to please address the guest as a guest of honor. It is an esteemed privilege, and we humbly request you graciously share your observations, insights, and reflections on the report, along with your perspectives specifically regarding with Sindh province. Madam, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and good morning. Indeed, a great pleasure being here today. And Dr. Shabane, let me reassure you that we do not blame UNFPA for the rising fertility, at least not in Sindh. So I don't know what the other provinces may think, but not in Sindh. We take our incompetence, our failure to do things on ourselves. We don't blame others for what we haven't been able to achieve. So having said that, I think Sindh has been the most progressive province where family planning is concerned. And we have launched our reproductive health rights bill, in which we have definitively said that a woman's decision is her own, whether she wants to have children or whether she does not want to have children. Apart from that, I think we have also talked about Planned Parenthood in that, and the decision of both couples to decide on what kind of family they are going to have. So really speaking, it's a very comprehensive bill. It also increases the responsibility of the government to ensure reproductive health and to have safe delivery systems within all our units, all our health facilities, as well as ensure the availability of all kinds of contraceptives, be it long-acting or short-acting, and to make it accessible to everyone free of cost. So really speaking, we have stocks for about 2 years now, and that is, we haven't had any stockouts. Yes, there have been some minor glitches in seeing that the stocks go right down to the user level, and where we have to ensure that availability is there for even the most remote areas and the most marginalized of our communities. So really speaking, that's what it is. The major element of concern is the fact that very little knowledge is available in the society, in the communities, about contraception, of health associated with reproduction, and that's where we are lagging behind. And I think that we have to make sure that our women do enjoy a great degree of understanding of what they want to achieve where their reproductive rights are concerned. And this allows us to come to the second point. Not only is reproductive health rights and reproductive health a part of SDGs, because obviously every child that is born should have the best opportunity in life. And we see that children, if they are unwanted pregnancies, most of these women go in for abortions. And the rate of abortions as a means of contraception is very high in Pakistan. And that should be it shouldn't be the case, because after all, every child has to be born if he is conceived. That is my take on it, that if you have been conceived, you have to be born. And the woman has to take on the responsibility of seeing that the unwanted pregnancies are not born. And that brings us to the rights of the government and the responsibilities rather than the rights of the government. The responsibility of the government is to ensure that the contraceptions are there, the knowledge is there, so that women can access those possibilities. We have done in Sindh, what we are trying to do now is put in family planning or contraception use. I'd rather not use the word planning, because it makes it very tedious that people are planning to do to have families. I'd rather say that they should contraceptive use has to come down to every facility, and for that we have decided that it should be a part of our preventive health care. And for preventive health care, we are looking at the most basic unit in health services that we have, which is the village dispensary, in which we have the government dispensaries, in which we are going to have maternal MNCH facilities. We're also going to have nutrition, immunization, breastfeeding, promotion of breastfeeding, and telehealth for health and hygiene and messaging. And also another thing is that we're putting in skill development for the women. So there are few things that we are making a holistic program of, and these are 393 facilities which we are going to upgrade, and we are starting this year with 60 of them. So slowly and gradually we'll be increasing these facilities to 393 with referral services for a comprehensive EMOC or comprehensive facilities where they can have C-sections with ambulance services available for them. So within a 50-kilometer radius, we are having these facilities. This universal health coverage is part of this package as well, and so that we ensure that every woman, every man, every child has access to whatever is required for his or her health. I have to say that our gender norms are very patriarchal, and our gender norms result in a lot of people thinking that men are the decision makers in our society, which they are. And we feel that decision making should not lie with just the male member of the family. It should be a conjoint decision making. It should take in all the social and economic conditions around that family, and they should be able to make a decision based on there should be an informed decision made by them. So really speaking, we as Sindh have tried to do our best in that respect. We have a country engagement group also, which is for the whole of Pakistan. All the provinces are part of that country engagement group. And that country engagement group meets every quarterly and brings up decisions on how and what is going to be their plan for that quarter. And then we have the task force, which is headed by the chief minister in the provinces and the prime minister at the country level. So really speaking, these task force have in Sindh, last task force hasn't occurred because this quarter we have been very much involved with our budget making. But every quarter in Sindh we have been having task force meetings with our chief minister, and that is, I think, commendable, because that has put in forefront the fact that family planning is part of that we have to take really great care, decisions on population welfare, and that is what we have to aim for. Unfortunately, our NFC award, the National Finance Award, is based on the numbers of people that are living in a province. And this affects us, and this sort of tilts towards the political will of not being doing anything for seeing that their population numbers reduce. This causes the governments to think in terms of increasing population. So priority for family population welfare department, finances for family planning is reduced because of that. And I think the first engagement that we should do is that we should be talking to governments regarding the NFC award not being linked or to be de-linked from population numbers. And obviously, this is a very crucial position to be in, because I don't think they are ready to listen to you about being de-linking NFC from population. And I don't think in any near future, I don't see the possibility of that happening. Having said that, our general trend should be, I agree with the UNFPA report, that gender is a crucial element, and seeing that there's gender equality, there's preference given to women's education, and there's preference given to women's involvement in the workplace, so that we may be able to reduce our numbers. And that is how we should be tackling family planning. And I agree that vertical, horizontal engagements of all sectors is very, very crucial. The private sector is an element which is often ignored, because private sector does look at, obviously it looks at economics and it looks at the profitability, but we should be engaging the private sector, and we have done that. In we have facilities in the private sector where we give them free contraceptives, and the only thing we want them to do is share their reports with us. And they do that, and based on the utilization report, we give them further contraceptives. And this is, I think we need to further engage with the private sector in this, because I think the commodities sometimes are very difficult to obtain. And some of the commodities, especially the long-acting ones, the implants and the IUCDs, the intrauterine contraceptive devices, are very difficult to obtain because of the fact that we have an embargo with India, and Brazil is too far away for our imports. So really speaking, we need to see that we are able to provide the contraceptives to the private sector as well, so that they can give it to their clients. The other possibility is that our youth have to be involved. Basically, this is what is happening here. I see a lot of students sitting here, and I think our youth in our universities, colleges, they're going to be future parents. They have to understand their responsibility towards population growth, the fact that the stresses on resources that increasing population puts, and because we have to look at, because as you know, we are the most food insecure country in the world, one of the most food insecure countries in the world. We are also, Sindh is one of the provinces which has a lot of malnutrition. I'm not saying the rest of Pakistan doesn't. The whole of Pakistan has malnutrition. Sindh is one of them. And we need to see that food security is our priority in addressing the issue of malnutrition. So I think that is one of the reasons why, again, we should be looking at the population growth with a very critical eye, and see how we are able to have a sustainable population. I'm not saying we should reduce our numbers to countries where the growth is almost zero, and where the older population is increasing and the youth is finding it a burden because of the care that they have to give, and because they are the only economically viable or capable of taking care of the older population. So it becomes a burden on them as well. So really speaking, we should have sustainable growth of population, at the same time a balanced growth of population, where our older population doesn't increase to a number where our youth are unable to take care of it. So having said that, I'm very pleased to be here today, and I think Sindh has to put a lot of effort into furthering the cause of this population growth, and seeing that our population growth is balanced and sustainable, and not and the increasing numbers do not stress us out. Thank you very much for being here today.
We extend our gratitude, Madam, sharing your valuable insights and bringing your wealth of lifelong experience to grace this significant occasion. I now invite Dr. Shabani to come forward and present a token of appreciation, a shield to our esteemed guest of honor, Madam Minister. This gesture symbolizes our deep gratitude for her invaluable time. Madam President, please, would you like to come on stage? Your impactful remarks have undoubtedly left a lasting impression. Thank you. Madam Minister, I now kindly request you to present a shield to Dr. Loy in acknowledgement of his efforts in sharing the key highlights of the reports and launching them from our provincial level forum. I express my gratitude to each and every one of you. Thank you. Concluding our first session of the event, we now transition to the second session, which entails a panel discussion of lead public health experts. We eagerly anticipate their insightful perspectives on the report. We would be delighted to welcome your valuable comments and questions, please, at the end of the session. It would be appreciated if you refrain from interrupting the panel members during the discussion. The session will be moderated by Head of Public Health Department, Dr. Samira Ali Rizvi. Please. She is an MBBS doctor, epidemiologist, academician, and researcher. She has 19 years of teaching experience, consultancy projects, and almost 20 national and international publications to her credit. Madam, we kindly request you to commence our panel discussion. We invite our first panel member, Mr. Syed Asad Ali Shah, to kindly join us on the stage. Mr. Shah, over 35 years of experience serving corporate and financial sector entities, remained country managing partner, senior partner of Deloitte Pakistan, also a board member of International Federation of Accountants, the global representative organization of accounting profession. He is currently chairman Bifiler Limited, Pakistan's first and largest digital tax filing, member of board of directors of Bank of Khyber, and also writes regularly on matters of public interest, including governance, macroeconomy, and public policy in print. Moving on to our second panel member, Dr. Zaib Dahar. Dr. Zaib, please, carries 25 years of experience providing leadership, management, program development in field of women and child health, primary health care, MNCH, reproductive health, family planning. She also has experience to national MNCH programs, national programs for family planning, and PHC National Nutrition Program. Then we have on board with us Dr. Talib Lashari. Dr. Talib Lashari, Technical Advisor at CIP, Population Welfare Department, Government of Sindh. Dr. Lashari is a representative of Pakistan on Health Advisory Committee, Commonwealth, Geneva, London. He is also a member of Population Task Force Sindh FP 2030 Working Group. One of his latest achievements was new initiative of Sindh Government Reproductive, Maternal, Neonatal, Child, Adolescent Health and Nutrition, popularly known as 1000 Days Program. And last phase of youth, Ms. Ayman Haroon, an MSPH student at SZABIST. She is currently associated with Green Star Social Marketing, leading communications for the Challenge Initiative funded by BMGF, also managing youth awareness program Khud Ko Pehchano in Punjab. She is an SHRH enthusiast, avidly advocates for family planning, reproductive health for reforms for youth of Pakistan. So, Madam, it is over to you. Dr. Samira, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Dr. Samira Ali Rizvi. Thank you, Dr. Neda, for introducing me to my audience, guests, and students. So this is the day we are highlighting about the importance and the results that were shared in the State of the World Population Report 2023. I take this opportunity to present in front of you a panel as already introduced by Dr. Nida Shoaib, Mr. Syed Asad Ali Shah, Dr. Zaib Dahar, Dr. Talib Lashari, and my student, Ms. Ayman Haroon. Just as a introduction, in November 2022, our world reached 8 billion people. So although it depicts that people are living longer and healthier, however, at the same time, many of the countries like Pakistan, we are facing challenges, especially due to climate change, the recent pandemic, the conflicts, mass displacement, economic uncertainties, and as mentioned by my esteemed speakers, food insecurity. Today, the reproductive health and gender equality are major issues faced by the country like us, Pakistan. Reducing population growth. Is this an old narrative, or are we really looking forward to it? This report emphasizes on investment in human development. The other major highlight of this report is about women being deprived about their autonomy. Hence, our today's discussion will be centered on investing in human development and rights and choices of people, especially women. Something very, very important that's going to be discussed today is about youth, the right of young girls, young women. So it's a privilege to welcome again my esteemed panel members. So first, I would start my discussion with Mr. Syed Asad Ali Shah Sahab. So sir, looking at the current population growth, in your opinion, what can be the potential consequences on environment sustainability, especially in reference to Sindh, Pakistan?
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me, and it's really indeed a pleasure to be here on this launch of this very important report. I think we all know what our situation is in Pakistan, and especially Sindh. While I went through broadly the executive summary of the report yesterday, and Dr. Head of UNFPA has very eloquently highlighted this balanced report from the global perspective, which actually largely talks about the gender equality and family planning and the rights of women to decide on the production of children, etc. And 2/3 of the world actually is now growing at lesser rate than to maintain this population. But I think the problem is with this 1/3, which is growing at much faster rate, and especially Pakistan perhaps is one of the. We have poor economic growth rate. We have one of the largest population under poverty and illiteracy, and human development index, we are one of the worst. But in terms of the only area where our growth is higher than the world and much higher is actually population. So we just had a census which reflects that we are now 24 crores 240 million people, and overall country growth rate is around 2%. But in the case of Sindh, I understand it's not a full official report, hasn't come, but it's around 2.4%, so much higher than rest of the country. We need to recognize that this higher growth is also unfortunately, more children are produced by poor, actually. So it's actually population is one of the key culprits of our problems, I would say. And Honorable Minister rightly said about the policies of Sindh government, to control population or family planning. But I think in terms of implementation, we have not done as much we should have done, because this growth rate is actually increasing more poverty. It is increasing more, illiterate youth, unskilled youth, and, female literacy and female empowerment, are the key issues. So broadly at this stage, my take is that while this is an excellent report at a global level, but for Sindh and Pakistan, we need probably different approach, which also you in a way highlighted. But I think the amount of investment that is required in population control and our strategy to, reduce this growth somehow has not worked. So it is, and as rightly pointed out by the Honorable Minister, we have some dilemmas that the NFC distribution is largely based on population, so every province tries to increase the population, So more than 82% is based on, population, which is probably, it is nowhere in the world like that. Population is one of the factors, but it should come down substantially. In fact, in the last NFC, it was reduced significantly, but still 82% or 84% is very, very high. And the second element also, the dilemma is that, the provinces which have larger population have more seats in the parliament, right? So it's a dilemma is that you also want to, get your share of the pie and you want to rule. So from that perspective, again, the province which has, or the area which has more population will get more number of MPAs, MNAs, and therefore their ability to influence and decision making and power game, obviously. So these are the dilemmas, due to which actually we may have one policy of controlling population through communication and all those strategies that we talked about, but are we really serious because of the other dilemmas? So I think these are inherent contradictions, and I just would like to, close with this, that it's not just, the population control is actually destroying all our indicators on poverty and literacy, health, and it is because of that the country is one of the key problems why Pakistan is now one of the, our GDP actually in the last few years has gone down. In dollar terms, our per capita income is now one of the lowest, even in the region. So we are becoming one of the poorest, one of the most illiterate, one of the worst, in terms of poverty and education, and population is one of the key reason. So my final point is that I think we need to rethink our strategy on population. We have perhaps, not done justice to this area.
Rightly said, Asad Sahab. So it's a dilemma. There is a political angle or a political will behind it, what Dr. Asad Sahab has just mentioned. So moving forward with Dr. Talib, what strategy would you propose to mitigate these effects, especially those strategies that are culturally sensitive, adaptable in our circumstances?
Thank you, Dr. Samira. Thank you for inviting me at this August House, whereby we are part of launch of historic, I would say historic report by UNFPA. Dr. Loe and Dr. Asad has already set the tone that the problem lies with broader social determinants, which we sometimes call social determinants of health, and sometimes we call just social determinants that are responsible for overall issues that we are facing. And I agree with Shahzad that poverty and education and gender equality are the major gaps in our public policy. We have, at least in Sindh, for the past 7-8 years, tried our best under the overall leadership of the Honorable Minister for Health and Population, Dr. Azra Fazal Pechuho, Sahiba, and even Madam President of SZABIST, that we should introduce culturally sensitive policies in this province. And one of the milestone was the COSET implementation plan way back in 2015 that we implemented till 2020, and then we moved to FP 2030 roadmap. In the meantime, we have been advocating the culturally sensitive ideas and themes with other provinces. And one of the positive things is that all other provinces, whether it's Punjab, KP or Balochistan, and the federal government, that they appreciated the achievements of SIM in terms of focusing on demand, in terms of awareness of the women, and provision of contraceptive services to each and every woman that we tried, but we are not yet as per our goal, a target. But those were received very positively at federal level and in other provinces. Later on, we also introduced FP 2030 roadmap, and I would recall here the vision of the roadmap, that we are trying and we will try to transform social and gender norms by 2030. Sindh is the province where it can happen. Why? Because the population is moderate, they think moderately, and mysticism is one of the hallmark of Sindh society. Therefore, I feel that we can achieve social and gender norms, and some of the proverbs that I don't want to mention here, these give women traditionally a very high value. So I think if we focus on social and gender norms by 2030, whereby decision of each and every woman would be supported and adapted. Few days ago, I was at the Bloomberg School of Public Health at the Johns Hopkins, and I presented the same points there. And I also recall that our tool for this would be social behavior change communication strategy. So one of the professors over there, sorry, appreciated a lot the social behavior change communication strategy, but he added, which I want to share with you all. He said that there is now a school of thought that thinks that social behavior change, communication shouldn't be there. Communication word shouldn't be there. Because communication is part of the overall social behavior change strategy. We should build infrastructures, systems, and enabling environment by the governments, by the policy makers that would ensure adaptation of social behavior change. Communication will be part of it. So we should focus on social behavior change strategy. And then I also shared some other thoughts over there. So I think from that perspective, this report of UNFPA is very, very significant. And when I was reading the report for the past 2 days, it came into my mind that it's a new paradigm shift. It's a paradigm shift, what we are thinking. And I think that Pakistan suits well when the report says there are many few and many more. How many people, how many we don't want to have. So if you look at Balochistan, they are very happy with few people and they don't want to reduce further the fertility when we talk some of the people over there. But in other provinces there are a lot of population, like in Punjab and Sindh. Sindh has a double burden of population, natural birth and migration. And likewise, KP is facing the same situation. So I think the importance of the report is indicating that we should focus on gender equality. We should focus on education. And on education, report clearly mentions some of the evidences in the 90s and even before that, that education of mother is directly correlated with the low level of fertility. And it has done wonders in other countries. But whether we in Pakistan are achieving that goal in near future, I think we need to focus on that, on education of girls, especially the secondary education. And report clearly says that secondary education has been able to achieve a level of fertility that is desired. I would also agree that we should focus on, and luckily Dr. Luev in Sindh, we have this FP 2030 roadmap that talks about the transformation of social and gender norms. We are focusing more on gender equality. And that I am saying why in the first phase of CIP, we were focusing more on services, contraceptive services availability, contraceptives procurement, and trainings of the providers, and awareness, counseling. Not that much focus was on counseling, but we tried about having that more. But in the second phase, we already have made some note of that, the fact that we need to move from service delivery towards gender equality, towards more education of the women and girls, towards economic empowerment of the women. That is why 1000 Days talks about the women economic empowerment. So I think this kind of policies are there. And few days back when we had consultation in Punjab and KP, there is also realization about it, Dr. Samira. So I think with some sort of advocacy, we can move to next steps somehow. So no tall claims, but we need to do. Doing will resolve the issue. Not sitting, not having just workshops and meetings, but going to the field at the grassroots level and talking to women through listening sessions, what they want, and targeting, as the report says, targeting the people where it's needed. I think that is also important, that 1000 Days program also talks about those targeted areas, desert, delta, hilly, riverine, arid zones, and slums, urban slums. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Talib. I think very rightly said, higher education is important for our females, women. Economic independence is also needed. In continuation to this point, Dr. Zaib, I would move on to you. Looking at the current cultural aspects of our province, Sindh, what can be the ethical considerations or ethical issues that you foresee while addressing or trying to resolve this issue? What can be the bottom line? What would be the solutions that you, or some ways, that methods that you could identify that the government can move on along those lines?
Thank you, Dr. Samira, and thank you for giving me the opportunity. As report says, it's very clearly that family planning must not be used as a tool for achieving fertility targets. So the same suggestion goes to the policymaker that whenever we, set fertility target, it should not, consider family planning to, use as a tool. And it is actually a tool for empowering the women and individuals. As multiple PDHS surveys reveals that literate woman has fewer children, and poor and illiterate women has more children. So investing more on education. And same for women has a choice. Choice, she has to choose if, when, and how many children she would like to have. So it should be free from coercion. Like, most of our managers, departments, they, force their healthcare provider, and sometimes healthcare providers are also, convincing couple to adopt family planning. So it's better to give them choice, education about family planning, rather coercion on them. And second thing is, as Madam Minister says, there's most of the time governments face challenges in procuring commodities. So accessibility and is one of commodity, family planning commodity is very key. So Sindh is more progressive in procuring commodities than other provinces, especially Punjab and KP. So one thing more I would like to say regarding policies is actually to relax couple of option for procurement, especially imports, relaxing tax on some of the commodities, raw material, and supporting indigenous manufacturer to produce IUCDs and implants in country. So that is also one of the ethical consideration, because to me it's women's right to choose whatever she want to, and availability is responsibility of government and policy makers. Third thing which this report strongly recommends is governments institute policies with gender equality and rights at their heart. Parental leave program, maternity leaves and paternity leaves, child tax credits. Several countries have introduced child tax credit where, those parents who are paying tax, they have tax credit to rear their children if they are many. And policies that promote gender equality in workplace. The women should be given leadership roles, equal opportunities at the policy level, at the institutions level, the departments level. So that is very important. And it should be a universal access to sexual and reproductive health. So it says that these are the proven, formula that will reap economic dividend. So empowering women with education, with right of information, and employment, empowerment, this will actually make the difference in economic dividends. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zaib. So Dr. Zaib has clearly mentioned about the rights of women. Again, their economic independence, education, their decision to make a choice, informed choices. I believe a concept of self-care would also come in here. Moving to my youth, my student, Ms. Ayman Haroon. So Ayman, as a young person, since you are the face of so many students sitting here, you are representing our youth here, I would like to hear from you, in your opinion, what are the barriers related to sexual and reproductive health? So health, right? Social and reproductive health and rights of our youth, particularly in Pakistan, and let's focus on Sindh more.
Everyone, first of all, extremely grateful to SZABIST for choosing me. They could have chosen anyone, but they let me to be a panelist. So thank you so much, Dr. Samira, Madam Shanaz Vazirali, and our chairperson from Green Star. I'm just not representing SZABIST here, but I would also share my experiences that I've learned during my work in the family planning sector in Green Star. The question that you're asking about the barriers, there are many. During my work, especially while being a youngster, and when this report was shared with us to review, a word has stuck with me, and that is being unapologetic. Especially when I was reading the youth section and what are the recommendations this report is given, and I love that word. The youth has to be unapologetic. One of the barrier that we have is that we apologize a lot when we want to talk about sexual reproductive health and rights. We're very, as Madam Minister also said, we are a patriarchal society. And those values are driven, and yet they also drive our opinions when we want to access sexual and reproductive health and rights. So first of all, we are unable to question the basic. During my master's here in SZABIST, I learned that everything starts from sexual health. And it's a holistic, integrated approach that we have to take, from sexual health to reproductive health, to nutrition, to maternal and child health, to all the integrated approaches that have to come together and make one holistic sort of science or dynamic to derive not just family planning, but population dynamic. And the basics of that is, of course, sexual health. And it's happening everywhere. People are having sex left, right, center, but we're unable to question. The barrier that we have is a safe space, which I think youth is unable to ask. We do not have a lot of helplines. Green Star Social Marketing has a helpline called Pechuho. The most requested query that we have, and we have data to prove that, is ECP, emergency contraceptive pill. People, youngsters of various ages, because of course it's confidential, they ask about where can we access ECP, how can we get ECP, how to use an ECP. So people need that. And ECP, why we take ECP is because there's a failure to contraception that was used a night before or a day before. So what I think the barrier, of course, is culture, it's religion, it's our values that are driven from our parents. We're very amma and very abba driven, actually, the youth especially. Not just that, then we're very mother-in-law and very father-in-law driven as well. So my mother wants to see me in a certain way. When I will get married, my sas would want to see me in a certain way. And I would be like, okay, so we're very divided as well. Shah Saab mentioned about culture. We have so many different cultures here, and every culture has its own science, has its own values, has its own dynamics, and the youth is so divided of what we should follow. Yes, then religion comes as well. So we also judge people based on that. So if someone asks a question and being unapologetic about it, yet we will be judged if we want to talk about sexual health, reproductive health, I very openly talk about it. And it's just not Pakistan, it's just not Sindh. I recently got a chance to attend a fellowship in States where I was chosen amongst 433 people. Pakistan, they selected 6 people from Pakistan, I was one of them. It's called Rise Up Fellows. It's by David and Lucille Packard Foundation. And I was sitting with America, with India, with Ethiopia, Rwanda. We all have same issues. youth is unable to access SRHR is just not Pakistani issue, it's a global issue as well. So if we're coming into Sindh and there's a bill launched on sexual reproductive health and right, yes, it's there. What about its implementation? We do not have access to basic, talk about menstrual health and hygiene in schools, in universities. Even in SZABIST, we could not talk about sexual reproductive health and rights very openly. At least I was able to talk about it during my health policy course because we were allowed to, present it. But not in a lot of courses we were not talked about it. We received a lot of trainings here from a couple of our, family planning colleagues, and there was, people were weird about it. Nobody was asking questions, because we're different age disparities at studying here. That's also a possibility. But I think that we all need to speak the same language. It's our right. First, we need to see that it is our right and we should embrace that. And that will get corrected when we also start questioning our values, I mean, I love our values, I embrace, and I have a balance of being liberal and someone who's conservative. But we also need to question and create a balance between those values and understand that if we will not ask the question, somebody else will drive us, and then they would ask for, okay, when are you having a baby girl? All right, when are you having a baby boy? And then the train goes on.
I think good points raised by Eamon. There are some practical issues. Being a mother of a teenager, I understand what she's trying to mention, and many of us can relate to this problem. We have this hush-hush approach. We don't want to disclose. We don't want to talk about it. So our children, our youngsters, our adolescents, even young married ladies, they are married at such a tender age of 18, 19, the age at which they should be attending universities. They are into a wedlock. So let's again gather this discussion and moving forward. Eamon has the points that Eamon has now mentioned, and the issues that were raised by Dr. Taleb, Dr. Zaib. So, sir, what do you think can be some of the strategies that now we should seriously focus on if we are really serious in resolving this issue of zero abortion? That is an unmet need also. It also encompasses the concept of unmet need, which is currently 17.7%, if I'm right. So we are still in a phase of CPR, somewhere around 37%. So what do you think as an economist, as a person who is farsighted, who has a broad vision, what do you think, what should be our future direction? In a way that our students can also understand, and some of the people who are not from health background, they could also understand some mediating direction.
Thank you. I think we have touched on most of the things, the issues. The question is, Sindh, relatively speaking, is a more liberal society compared to some of the other provinces, and we have, in terms of leadership, also more commitment to female empowerment and better legislation, etc. And by the way, after 7th NFC, provinces have got good amount of money. So the problem is, despite that, why Sindh has significantly higher population growth rate, which is creating. And then we also need to appreciate that Sindh has the highest, one of the highest, in terms of poverty, the rural poverty, if we exclude Karachi, is, I think that poverty is probably even worse than Balochistan, and in terms of education, literacy, female literacy, also our indicators are worse than the other provinces. So it's not just the population control strategy, it's actually there has to be a holistic approach. You will find that this issue of family planning or more children being produced, in the families which are poorer. So the greater the poverty, the greater the illiteracy, you will have, more children. So they make themselves more miserable. Where there is misery, the misery is increasing more. So I think it has to be kind of a holistic approach if we want to address it. And of course, one of the bigger issue is the dilemma, do we really want it? Because that if we control our population and other provinces don't, then our seats will decrease, our money will decrease. So those are two dilemmas that also need to be considered. It has to be a nationwide approach, but at the same time, for addressing population issue, I think it has to be a broader strategy. It cannot be just the population department. It has to be our, we have to look at our education, we have to look at the female literacy. We have the, one of the highest number of out-of-school children. And within Pakistan, Sindh has, worst indicators in education. So education, child marriages, again, culturally still happening in our rural areas. So if female literacy is again one of the worst in the country. So we need to address these other cross, spectrum issues. I think our basic strategy on education also needs to be, looked at, and of course communication and investment on family planning. But what I'm saying is that population control cannot be seen in isolation. It has to be a holistic strategy of looking at female empowerment, encouraging females to work, and eradicating poverty. If there is more unemployment again, so as we improve our economic indicators, as we improve our investment and strategy on education and female literacy, etc., that those things will be more impactful. So I think we need to have a holistic strategy for addressing this.
So a holistic strategy focusing on women especially, this is understood. You touched upon a very important aspect of education you previously also mentioned. Now, since I'm sitting at a university, being the head of the Department of Public Health, my focus is prevention and collaboration and resolving solutions. So, Dr. Talib, here I would come to you, sir. So, do you think there are any ways where academia can play a role, a significant and objective role, a relevant role, where we can all come together and come up with a holistic system? Here I would also like to hear from you some points regarding the importance of data collection, true data, a data which is accessible, which is reachable to universities, from where true reflection of the real picture of the situation can be displayed in terms of for the formulation of policy making or further steps.
Thank you, Dr. Samira. I think it's a very challenging task, the data. But I'll come to the point that is being mentioned. We have a comprehensive law, that is Reproductive Health Rights Act in Sindh. And that includes all aspects of women empowerment and sexual and reproductive health rights and services. You all are aware of the fact that once law is passed, then we go into two more steps. One is that rules are being framed for the law. So rules have been framed, and these are at the law department to wait, because that is a mandatory process to go through. And the implementation plan is also has been developed, and the implementation plan was also circulated within some of the development partners, and they all have contributed through their comments, and we have finalized the implementation plan. So I think once we move towards implementation of the law, it will address so many other points that are being mentioned in this report of the UNFPA. Coming to the role of academia, I think it's very, very significant. Worldwide, if you look at the human development and the human capital development, universities has played a significant role in the analysis, in research, and in contribution towards the social policy. So from that perspective, I think the role of academia is very, very important. What we can do is, the suggestion, a practical suggestion is that we have laws and policies, and we are constantly implementing those laws and those policies. So there needs to be a collaboration with academic institutions. They should go for the baseline surveys, they should go for the evaluation of the programs that we are implementing. So a constant inquiry is needed, small scale surveys they can produce. And I'm glad that SZABIST is moving very fast to that role. And one of the examples is today's launch, which is not in a 5-star hotel, but in the SZABIST, for which I congratulate SZABIST management, president and the management, and the chancellor, that they have, and the UNFPA, thanks to UNFPA, that they have chosen a university. So I think we need to build. We don't need to stop just for a launch, but we need to build a momentum whereby the public sector programs should also be evaluated by the academia. Because there is a gap between research in the universities and public policy. We need to fill that gap. So that is one thing. On data, I think it's very important. And again, this UNFPA report has discussed the importance of data, demographic change, and that change is only possible when we, as a decision makers, policy makers, academicians, we and economists, we know that what is the data, what the data is telling us. I think on family planning or population per se, population sector point of view, we have so many dashboards. We have different dashboards. One dashboard is from the CCI recommendation point of view. That dashboard is at federal and provincial level, and provinces are supposed to enter the data regularly on that dashboard. Another dashboard Population Council has developed, and that is based on, they have gathered all the secondary data sources, and they have provided a dashboard, which is good. I have seen that. CLMIS is another dashboard and web-based system of reporting, which talks about the contraceptives consumption and the contraceptives procurement and stock outs and average monthly use, etc. So I think that is another comprehensive system that we have. But where is the culminating point? Is there some convergence or not? I think that is missing. All the dashboard and everybody is working in silos, so we need to converge these dashboards and these web portals into a manner that when we present data, it should be reliable, accurate, and quality of the data should be maintained. So from after that, we can take some decisions. So I'm happy that some of the partners like Palladium and others, they have started this kind of exercise for FP data integration. So, so many things are happening, and I think this data integration and based on data integration, the decision making is very, very important. Thank you.
Azra Saab, you have a...
I just want to raise one question with Dr. Lashari Saab. And this is on the basis of, last few days, 2 weeks, obviously, this is a budget season, and, we talk about budget, and ultimately population control or explosion in Pakistan is one of the biggest issues which complicates other issues. So I didn't hear in the federal finance minister's speech anything about population. So, and they presented 14.4 trillion rupees budget, 50% more than last year, despite of the fact that Pakistan is unable to pay its debts. Literally bankrupt hue hue hain. Sindh presented a budget of 2.2 trillion rupees, again 35% more than the previous year. I'm not sure, can you tell us what is the overall allocation? I mean, overall expenditure अगर आप देखें पाकिस्तान का 14.4 trillion federal government का है, 2.2 trillion सिंध का है. उस proportion से मैं अगर सारे provincial budgets include करूं, तो it comes to around 14.4 for federal and let's say 8 or 9 trillion for the provinces. So it comes to 23 trillion, which means virtually 23 to 24% of the GDP. तो मुझे ये बताएं कि population control करने के लिए, which is one of the bigger problem, which is complicating our education, poverty, female empowerment, ये सारी चीज़ों के लिए, what is the allocation in Sindh's budget and Pakistan's budget?
Yes, Shahzab, as you know, population and health is now a devolved subject, and through NFC award, allocations are made to the provinces, and then provinces are responsible for allocation to the family planning and population sectors. So one thing that came in the federal budget, and we have been demanding that for some time, that was the slashing the sales tax on contraceptives, because due to this sales tax, it was not possible for the importers to, and even for the governments to have that, and even in the private sector. So that is one token that was announced. In Sindh, Sindh has been allocating about 900 million rupees for contraceptive procurement for the past, few years. And this year, I don't exactly know that whether these 900 millions are for the procurement or less, but I hope that is the same amount. And then 3 to 4 billion rupees are allocated to the Population Welfare Department. For rest of the, for example, Department of Health, PPHI, for Lady Health Workers Program, basically we are suggesting, and we have been suggesting, that there should be a budget code dedicated to family planning, so that we at the outset would be able to know that this is the amount which is going to family planning, because family planning amount is not only within Population Welfare Department, but within Department of Health, it's even more than population welfare. So what we did few years back, we devised a formula that 50%, if we go to the allocation of LHW program, which is for family planning and primary health care, so we arbitrarily see that 50% of their allocation goes to family planning. For MNCH program, we arbitrarily said that their 15%, 15% goes to the family planning. And likewise, around 10% of PPHI budget goes to the family planning. And then secondary and tertiary care hospitals, 5 to 10% of those is going to family planning. So that is some kind of allocation which we have devised through consultation with the Department of Health and Population and LHWs. But definitely, I think...
one more issue, but I think... would you like to?
What has happened is, you see, implementation of family planning is with the health department. The arbitrary distribution के lady health workers का इतना time, so much of the lady health workers time goes into family planning, or saying that so much of the budget is utilized in family planning in the tertiary services. We can't do that. The division is not possible because they are both so intricately integrated that you can't separate the two, you can't divide the two. On the whole, what Talib mentioned was about 1.9 billion has been allocated for the Population Welfare Department, 900 million for procurement, etc. These are numbers that are, you can say, okay, definitively are used for family planning. But the other numbers cannot be divided because our health department is basically the implementing partner for family planning. The lady health workers, we have the obstetricians and gynecologists doing the same, and we have community midwives, and we have also paramedics, our PPHI partner also doing family planning. So really speaking, everything is so holistically integrated that we can't separate the two. And now that we're coming up with our 1,000 days project, in which we are further integrating family planning into our preventive healthcare systems. So we cannot divide how much is being spent on family planning or from the health portfolio. So having said that, I think obviously it's very critical because numbers don't count, money doesn't count. The fact is, how well are you implementing the plan? How well are you implementing the strategies that you have pushed forwards? And that's what is, basically it boils down to that. And if we have it, a good strategic framework for implementation, then that is what will help us and assist us in getting right to the end goal of family planning, and that's it.
Thank you, Madam Minister. So, Asad Sahab, Dr. Talib, this was about the budget. Now, very quickly, because I have to give a chance to my audience also, I'll quickly move to my last two questions. First, I would go back to Ayman. Ayman, you pointed out a lot of issues regarding hindrances that are being faced by youth. So, one last statement, a key statement that you would like to suggest in front of our esteemed panel members.
I have two suggestions.
Yes, please.
One is that Pakistan should have premarital counseling as a policy across the board. Perfect. Punjab has started it. I don't know when will Sindh start that. Punjab is actually setting precedents in a lot of things related to family planning. So the program that Green Star is doing in Punjab, we have trained 600 teachers across 30 universities on premarital counseling, sexual reproductive health and rights. I am actually managing that program while sitting in Sindh. And we've had amazing learnings from that. Because we talked about how academia can be involved in that. Academia, I mean, what I saw in Punjab, yes, there's a huge cultural difference between Sindh and Punjab. And when I was, doing my pre-sensitization meetings with the VCs and, head of departments in various universities, I literally saw the culture flowing like water. So you're in Lahore, very different mindset. You're in Pindi, very different mindset. You're in Multan, extremely different mindset. We were not able to break universities like LUMS for the program, but we were able to break Islamia University Bahawalpur. Can you imagine that? Our training content was not challenged by a lot of medical universities, but Rawalpindi Medical University challenged it. They had a whole ethical review run to it and they challenged us. And we had to complete 30 universities. The program is funded by Punjab Population Innovation Fund. In fact, Green Star has also suggested that in various meetings with Madam Minister that we should have Sindh Population Innovation Fund as well. And we should have academia involved in, you know, so that we can have more youth engagement, seminars and sessions, not just seminars. See, seminars is something which is like one time, we do that, we forget it. We need faculties, we need people, we need experts who are trained on sexual reproductive health and rights from public health, from, you know, different departments of health, population welfare department, again, coming back to an integrated approach. That. And secondly, another suggestion which is broad, not particularly for youth, but for family planning, is I think we should reinitiate hiring lady health workers, you know, young lady health workers. Green Star is implementing the challenge initiative. I'm leading the communications for that. I got a chance to train so many lady health workers, and even yesterday I was sitting in one of the health facilities in Aurangi town, and I met this lady health worker, and I said, "Aapne kab join kiya tha?" She said, "96. I said, "I was 4 years old when you joined. I'm 31 now." So imagine. It's like, and the lady health workers are, some of them, I don't know if they are on the edge of retirement, they have not retired, they should have retired. Now they have lost the rigor as well. That's what I'm seeing. So when we're talking about social behavioral change, not communication, Lady Health Workers Program was launched for that. They have been taken into various things, you know, immunization and vaccinations and stuff of that sort, and integrating into other programs. So maybe we should have young, focused, both married and unmarried lady health workers in Pakistan, so the family planning message can go unanimously. It's a ubiquitous problem across the world. It's just not Pakistan, but because of cultural sensitivity and the barriers we've already talked about, premarital counseling and lady health workers, because they have access to your door. I even talked during one of our training sessions, you guys are chalte phirte reporters. You can tell what's happening in someone's house. They have that much, you know, depth. So young lady health workers are the need of the hour, and I'm glad that Madam Minister is sitting here. I hope something is going to happen about it. Ring fencing, the budget code that we're talking about, the family planning's budget should be ring fenced within the code so we can know. And of course, you know, the taxes are now great. There was 18% tax on commodity and condoms especially and stuff of that sort, so that has also been worked on. And yeah, you know, maybe cross-provincial learning could also be taken. So Sindh can learn from Punjab, Punjab can learn from Sindh. Balochistan is an area where practically nothing is happening. So maybe we should also look into that in KP. But if we're talking about Sindh especially, yeah, I have these two suggestions. Please have premarital counseling and call it premarital counseling. Even Punjab also calls it marital counseling. Yet you're trying to counsel people who are about to get married. See, we don't have to go far away. Let's not go to Europe or America. Just move towards Iran. Their CPR is 77%. Why? Because they have premarital counseling. It is a must. It is a must.
We have reproductive health rights bill. Usme marital counseling bhi hai, part of it. We are already in the process of training our WMOs and MOs on marital counseling. We don't want to bring it down to a lady health worker level, because that authority from a person who's a doctor is much more than from a lay person. We are calling it a marital counseling bill because we want the couples to sit together to be counseled. We don't want separate, and our cultural barriers don't allow a couple to sit together before marriage. So we have to call it a marital counseling bill. And in that, we're talking about the rights of the woman, the rights of the spouses, both spouses, the rights of the children, how to bring up children, family planning. Everything is included, and the curriculum is also being developed. And we're going to launch the curriculum very quickly, and that curriculum is to be, and the training on that curriculum will start very soon. So we wanted to go into marital counseling with a very open. In fact, let me tell you that Sindh was the first province to promote and to talk about marital counseling. We even sent a delegation to Iran to study their premarital counseling portfolio and to see how it works so that we could implement it here. So really speaking, we have been talking about it for a whole year now, and we are slowly and gradually building to bring it down to grassroots level with our In fact, PPHI is going to be involved in it, and we're going to introduce it into our basic health units, our rural health centers, where the couple cannot have their nikah registered until they have had that counseling session, and then their nikah will be registered. So one of the caveats is this also. The other question of lady health workers, we are in a process of doing attrition of all the lady health workers who are not working, who are old in age and they have to retire now, and we are hiring in their place new lady health workers. But at the same time, we have uncovered areas where lady health workers are not present. About 40% of our coverage is present. In those areas, we are looking at a process of having the lady health workers being engaged through contractual basis, because we cannot, the bill is too high for us to afford the pensions and the salaries of these. So through contractual basis, where Hire and Fire Authority will be with PPHI, which is our private preventive healthcare provider, and which is a partner with the Government of Sindh. So we are doing that. At the same time, we are introducing a cadre of community midwives, which is nowhere present in none of the provinces. We are going to hire 1,500 community midwives, and we are slowly and gradually, we have now hired about 50. We are slowly and gradually hiring more, and these community midwives will be doing reproductive health rights. They'll talk about reproductive health rights. They'll be performing normal deliveries. They will be talking about contraceptives. They'll be offering contraceptive advice, nutritional advice, right at the basic village level. So really speaking, we are working on all these processes, and inshallah we'll get there eventually. One of the things that I really feel that the youth are not able to do is talk about reproductive sexual rights openly, which is one of the basic barriers which we are facing in all universities, colleges, everywhere. You cannot talk about it because society does not allow it. And I think that barrier is slowly and gradually breaking up now. So now people are talking about it. I remember in my first meeting in our policy making department in Federation, I was talking to a group of legislators, and I spoke about condoms and condom use. And there was absolute pin drop silence and shock that I had even mentioned condoms, being a woman. So really speaking, we have now we talk about it very openly. And even in the parliament, they're talking about it. So really speaking, you have to slowly and gradually break the barrier. And even with the youth, I think they have to slowly and gradually break the barrier. You talked about ECP pills. They are available. In fact, Sindh has the largest quantity of the ECP pills, and we have given it to our lady health workers to distribute it, even if a youngster asks for it. So really speaking, we are not against that. Because we have to see the realities of our social behaviors, and there is a lot of intermingling of both sexes. Obviously, accidents can happen, things can be taken to that extreme, and we need to see that they have a better handle of their reproductive health rights. So thank you.
Thank you. Can I just share one more thing? So thank you so much, ma'am, for whatever you said. You're absolutely right. The women medical officers counseling, it would be absolutely brilliant, but we also, I think, need to see what sort of contraceptives they are using, because in my experience, I got to talk to a lot of them while being in the field, and many of them are not using any sort of contraception themselves. You know,
so I think, Eamon, you are touching the live wires now.
One point.
Thank you, madam.
Absolutely, it's their rights, So informed choices is something that we need to definitely work on, and especially on lady health workers level, where their counseling should be so solid. We saw that they recommend the methods that they think would be the best, and a MEC wheel is there for that, which WHO has launched for them. So there are various things that can come onto play, but yeah, premarital or marital counseling and lady health workers was my suggestion.
So I
just
think,
one point
yes,
I would like to add here, because we are sitting in a university, and that's important to mention here. We had started seminars in universities, and we had gone to so many institutions, even SZABIST Larkana and Karachi University, then Dow, then Jinnah. So, and we were trying to establish youth clubs for life skills. So So I think we will continue with this practice, and today's seminar, whereby I can see so many students sitting here, we would like to continue youth clubs so that we should have a meaningful engagement. Aman, you are also part of all such discourses. So I think that is very important, that we should have, we should continue with these youth clubs in universities. That is another way of engaging universities with the sexual reproductive health rights.
I think Iman very well articulated. I have two things in my mind right now which I would briefly, very quickly touch upon. You mentioned about counseling in universities. Just for sake of a piece of information, there are schools in Karachi, O-level schools, till O-level schools, where this puberty sessions, pre-pubertal sessions, they are being started now, and it's a good piece of counseling sessions for our children. So we don't have to, or our kids don't have to go on Google and find out irrelevant information, some unacceptable content is also there. So it's the teachers, the counselors that are now speaking to children in some of the schools. So I would request, ma'am, from this platform, that kind of information, because children are also entering into puberty, their minds are working, their hormones are very active. So as a parent, as a public health personnel, I would again request that such options are opened at government and private sector both. Yes. So with this, I think I wanted to move to climate resilience, but if Madam, yeah. Yes.
Mike.
My name is Azra Fazal. I'm an obstetrician gynecologist, and thank you, Madam Minister, for giving me this opportunity. And I know why she's given me the mic. It's because I've been briefing her about a course that we've developed. It's called Bakhabar Naujawan. And so it is, irrespective of the fact whether a marriage is in the scene or not, whether it's premarital, whether it is marital, and just that these young people need information not just about, family planning and about, sex and reproductive health matters, but there are lots of other issues. I'm a clinician, so I see all these young boys and girls come to my clinic with these matters. In fact, only recently, a student of this university had thalassemia minor. She got married, but she didn't have her husband screened for thalassemia. She didn't know this, that it was that important. So our course, which is Bakhabar Naujawan, I see three potential, and I would like to speak to you, Dr. Samira, after, if you give me some time. I would like to introduce it to the students of your college. So I see three potentials. This course has recently been endorsed by the Federal Ministry of Health and Coordination, and we are now going to NADRA. NADRA has in principle agreed to endorse this course as mandatory for people registering their nikah. And I see this coming to, students. We are in conversation with the Higher Education Commission. Minister had suggested it to us, so we are having conversations with them. And once this course is endorsed by the Higher Education Commission, I think the colleges and universities will not hesitate to introduce it into their system. And I request the university, it will not take your time or even require your faculty. All you do is tell your students to attend this course, produce that certificate, and you give them some credit. Some reward for it, that they have attended this course. And the third possibility I see for this course is in a busy clinical setup where the doctor has to counsel about these things. For example, this student of SZABIST, I said, this is the course. There is a module on thalassemia. Why don't you go and, attempt it? And it's a very simple course, 15 minutes or 20 minutes at a maximum. So you read up on it, come to my clinic next time. We can talk about it. Whatever questions you have, we can endorse it. We can try to answer it, and then you can plan your life according to the scientific information that is given there. So I request all of you to please endorse it in your colleges and universities. Thank you. And thank you, Minister, for giving me this opportunity.
Yes. So I think now with this, I would hand over to Dr. Nida Shoaib, because I see a lot of questions coming up. So Nida, now over to you.
So ladies and gentlemen, the floor is now open for questions and comments regarding the report for the audience. I would request Dr. Shabani to please also come on stage. Thank you. Yes, sir, please. Yes, sir, please go ahead. Sir, please have a seat. Okay.
Thank you. Madam Minister, Honorable Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Qasim Sumra and I'm Parliament Secretary on Health and working closely with Madam Minister for good 3.5 years. Being an engineer now, she has almost educated me to do the policy making, particularly in health sector. I have a few suggestions in a way. I'm not asking any question, right? To agree with the few points with Shah Sahab what mentioned, and of course Dr. Talib, and really impressed from Ms. Aman. But what I see is that since there are a number of policies based in Pakistan, most of them are driven by, see, we have economic turmoils all the time. Since my childhood and to date, I've seen that Pakistan is going through a crisis. And every time it's an economic crisis. And the policies that we have so far, up to this level, we have not utilized as in his speech, as you said, that we are not using our own resources based on our own culture, values, religious norms, etc., to drive our own policies, whether it is an economic policy or the social sector. Both of them are driven, somebody sitting in Geneva or Washington or somewhere else. And those are being dominated, policies are being dominated, the bureaucracy and the policy makers to, in a way, dictate the terms sitting here, and then so far we are lacking those basic policies that we think we should be doing it. What it brought to a system is the professional volunteerism. Somebody working in an NGO, a UN partner organization, a government bureaucrat, or somebody sitting in another part, actually is doing a professional volunteerism, not creating that demand. Dr. Azra just mentioned that we have trained so many people. Aman said we have done this, trained the students, teachers, etc. Dr. Talib is being vocal all across in CIP program, etc. Pathfinder is doing one program. And there are a number of other people doing it. But the demand is not coming. It's because that we have not involved those real stakeholders to make the policies, to make the voices clearly heard at the parliament level, the assembly level, or at the level where we are, as Dr. Saab has mentioned very clearly, that how much amount are we spending, which category we have emphasized to use that budget, to allocate that budget. Is there any priority at the provincial finance or the federal finance minister to talk about it, or the chief minister to talk about it, or anybody? It's just a matter of a population department to do whatever he or she can, or the department can. So my point is that those real stakeholders, like to create a voice, I personally believe that now Sindh is the only province in Pakistan, probably Balochistan is, whereby we have a local government system available. Why don't academia, NGOs, UNFPA, CIP, or anybody else create a curriculum to raise their awareness? So they are the community leaders actually. So they can train these people with the certain curriculum, you know, take them on board, so that the community can be heard, community can be, you know, sensitized about all this segment, climate justice, you know, the food security, the holistic approach of malnutrition, dealing with family planning, etc., etc. So my humble submission is, let us think beyond this professional volunteerism to a real volunteerism. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Dr. Yasmin, please, may we have your question or a brief comment?
I like the way you set up a qualifier, brief comment. I do understand. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Dr. Yasmin Kazi. I'm the Senior Country Advisor to Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Very happy to be here, Dr. Lui. Congratulations again. I attended your Islamabad event. That was also very graceful. And so I have a question for you, but I want to make an overall comment first, and then I'll add up with a question to UNFPA. I think, like you commented, that who is blaming whom. It's not a blame game. I think it's a joint responsibility. We should develop a joint responsibility matrix. I mean, there is a tendency that we would say, oh, government is not doing it. Of course, government is primarily responsible for health and education. And they would say, oh, private sector is so corrupt, and they are not doing it. I'm just saying very, you know. But the thing is that it's not an agenda which can be done single-handedly by anyone. It should be a joint responsibility. And unless we don't take that as a responsibility, we can't do it. So I'm a great promoter of public-private partnership, which Sindh has the most progressive policies, and they have been most proactive in that manner. It has to be brought into the family planning area. It has been on health, which has shown great result. PPHI is an example. Everybody quotes that, but we have to bring it down to family planning. We try to do it for 1 hour project. Haris is sitting here, so it didn't happen because of whatever. So what I'm trying to say is that have that kind of a partnership, and there is ownership, there is a joint responsibility, there is a kind of joint responsibility for both. So you know why we are failing and where we are failing. We need to look at that, start looking at the entire paradigm. And we recently did you know, a meeting with the private sector. This is for private sector, because we are trying to see, and we had this, you know, kind of a presentation in which we spelled out who the market is serving and who the market is failing. So 2 broad questions. So if we look at family planning, we need to see who we are serving and who we are failing. And unless we don't have that very clearly written out, because we all tend to, of course, talk about a lot of things that we do. Of course, Gates Foundation has done a lot of investment. Good to see 2 of our partners on the dais, both Green Star and Pathfinder. And of course, CIP was also something. Dr. Talib, so happy for his leadership. So what I'm saying is that, but we keep on asking ourselves all the time, what can we do? How can we be more innovative? How can we do that? So unless we don't start dissecting the whole thing and looking at who is responsible and who is responsible for what. And I think in that kind of a strategic planning, since Dr. Azra is so proactive and she always responds on that, I think we need to have a very high level of brainstorming and taking responsibility. So very much job Kereth, it's very true. I had suggested in Chief Minister Task Force to Chief Minister, Honorable Chief Minister, if he can ask parliamentarians every quarter what's happening in your constituency, how many women have died, how many newborns have died, are there family planning methods available, are there providers who are doing it. So if everyone takes that, because we have seen the countries who have moved, is that kind of an accountability and governance, and it works for everybody. It's not only for public, it's for the private sector. So I think that's the key, and I would like to you know, endorse what Aman was saying, and I would request again, Dr. Azra, she has heard from me again, that whether we call it pre-marriage counseling or marriage counseling, it should not be restricted with a framing. Do pre-marriage wherever there is a possibility. Do it with different. So I think keep it is a kind of a, how do we reach out to young people as soon as we can? And great to have life skill-based education integrated. So I think these are the things that we need. And then of course, lady health workers could be a great communicator. We should not undermine them for any information. And Dr. Azra has told about her course, and I have been part of that course development, and I know it's really effective. So I'll end by asking a question which I hope is not very difficult, but it's a great report. I have gone through it, but it's a global report. How do you bring it down to a country level to adapt your, whatever has been your kind of a goals for this year? How do you bring it down to the country level? So we have a country-specific strategy from the UNFPA, that these are the things that are important from the theme that you have chosen of having more opportunities and looking at a very, flipping the narrative from being negative to positive. So I think I'll end with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Yasmin, for your insight. Dr. Ray, would you like to answer the question?
The answer, UNFPA will not do any strategy. It's as simple as this. We are happy to facilitate, and we are happy to support the national counterparts to come together, discuss, and draw a strategy for Pakistan. This is our role, and we are happy with this role. But I think we need to have a model. And I spoke at the beginning, there are some colleagues who keep speaking about which model we can copy. And I'm telling you, there is no single model that you can use. You have to develop your own model. You can look at the strengths of other models, where they succeeded and where they failed. But it has to be created here. One of the challenges which I have seen in the country, I'm here just few months, 7 months almost, is that we have since 2018 transferred the center of gravity from Islamabad to the provincial capitals without going down to the districts. Things will not change. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will take one more. Okay, please.
I have one
yes,
comment
please.
on this. I think while obviously I totally agree we need to have our own strategy and an integrated strategy with involvement of all the stakeholders, but two things. One is there are examples in the world. I think Bangladesh, which is part of Pakistan, they were bigger brother when they separated. They have restricted their population to 170, 175 million, and we are now 240 million. So we need to raise this question, how? And the basic, and of course, economically also they have moved ahead. So these are linked. You see, so what have they done? Basic, I think somebody highlighted, it's the female empowerment, really. And the participation of female in labor force, entire garment industry, the workers are females. So I think, and then the investment on education and social sectors, human development. So if we address that, I think we'll be there. Secondly, our problem with our planning and budgeting is that it is input based. How much money is allocated to health department, to population planning, to education. We do not specifically define the outcomes. The money has to be linked with the outcomes. What are you going to achieve? Why we have 2.4% growth? So what do we need to do to bring it to 2%? And then there is, in terms of governance and accountability, basically governance is all about outcomes. Unless and until there is accountability for outcomes, I'm not talking about NAB accountability, I'm talking about, objectives and targets and accountability, funds linked with the targets and outcomes, which unfortunately is not done. Our mindset is, if you allocate so much amount, things will be achieved. No, things will not be achieved. Things will only be achieved when you define what are the outcomes that you're going to achieve.
Very nice. Thank you. So, dear guests, we will take one last comment because we have time constraint. And okay, let's take from Dr. Akram and then one last. Okay. Okay, Dr. As. Okay, two, and then we have Hars. Okay. Please.
Thank you, Nida. I congratulate here very good report. I just want to add here, I just attended a conference yesterday in Islamabad about the digitization. Digital solutions we had, and there was a federal health department there. They are going to make a law for this and a of the health system. Here, Madam Minister is here. I have experience under ministers. But if you actually distinguish it, you can say the health in pre-Dr. Azra's era and post-Dr. Azra's era. And there was a dramatic changes in the immunization to the family planning, to the maternity child health, to the nutrition. This is not a buttering. I'm saying by heart, okay? And I'm not a government servant now, and therefore it is not actually needed here. It is an independent, without bias, my opinion. And also I want to add that Dr. Talib Lashari, as Shah Sahab said, where the funding is coming. He is the milestone here for the family planning, who is actually engaging all of the partners. And all of the partners sitting in silos and sitting in but he is engaging the partners, and we are in the family planning and say this because of this man. Also, and with the patronization of Dr. Azra, number one. Number two, I agree with your Bangladesh model, because if the Iran and Indonesia got Pakistan's copy, but in Bangladesh is very good. And I request to the SZABIST people, there is an Oslo University's campus for the public health there in Dhaka, and the SZABIST University must send some students and some teachers here to study what they are doing for the family planning and all. And also I want to request to Honorable Minister that we are lacking here in the community manufacturing in Sindh for the family planning because of some social pressures and others. Also we have, Madam, lacking of the vaccination production. We have lacking of pre-filled staging production and many things here. Also your idea about the largest store for the immunization or the vaccines in Sindh, and these are my requests to be considered earlier. And also for an strong active advisory and focal group for the family planning control from different walks of life. And I also congratulate Dr. Talib Lashari for making an app for this work.
Sir, I would, my humble apology for interrupting you, but we would take one brief questions, please, from youth as well. I'm looking at my students and no question is coming up. I'm expecting 1 to 2 good questions from you. Yes, please.
Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Maha, Executive Director.
Voice.
Yes. Thank you so much for inviting me on this. Can you hear me? So I'm Dr. Maha, Executive Director from Indus Hospital and Health Network. I'm really delighted to be here. And I just wanted to speak about a little more about our community outreach. I'm responsible for Community Health Directorate, who is responsible for community outreach. So while doing our work in flood, I met Miss Behram Gul. And what we have really faced while providing our flood response through community midwives is mental health counselings, and the women are really stressed out and the female are really stressed out. While they're coming for the antenatal, they are saying, oh, most of the time they're talking about their problems. So what we did, we trained lay counsellor in the community.
So, Madam, your question.
Just
yes,
one.
Yes.
Sorry, that's why.
So sorry.
So we trained lay counsellor and we connect through telehealth. So I just wanted to put this to the panel and to the Madam Minister that after this flood and everything, we have to think through beyond routine, beyond health system, in the community and digitalization. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, please, Arslan. You have a question, please, and then Fahim. Please keep your questions a bit brief.
Thank you and congratulations to SZABIST, Madam Chancellor, Minister, and the faculty. Just a quick comment and then question also. What Dr. Lashari said, that communication, what he referred about Bloomberg conference, that communication is not that important, but infrastructure is more important. So I would like to negate it also, sir, but at the same time, a strategy that was very successful in COVID vaccination time and flood response, mobile messaging or mobile, when we call, or one-liner or 1 minute mobile message that floats around, I would suggest that it would be a very important strategy, because penetration in community through LHWs is a very about this sensitive subject is, it is very sensitive, and what kind of results that we are seeing and achievements. So this strategy would really help through mobile messaging and mobile call. That is my key suggestion. Thank you.
Yes, please.
May I?
Yes, sir.
Basically, it's not negate communication. When we talk social behavior change strategy, we include communication into it. We include enabling environment, infrastructures, health systems. So to make it more broad social behavior change strategy, we just are looking towards a suggestion which has come from the international forum, that we should not confine ourselves only to information and awareness. It should be part, and it will be part of it. Communication won't be out of the social behavior strategy, but we will be focusing at the same time what the policy makers have to do, what the decision makers has to do, and what managers, providers, and then community. So role of each and every stakeholder will be highlighted. So communication will be part and parcel, and will be definitely the major pillar.
Thank you so much. So last question, because Dr. Arias, Fahim, we'll end it because we are short on time. He's been requesting me continuously. Mike, please. Mike, please.
The momentum that we are witnessing here and the learnings that we have at this level, how we are going to translate it and move it down to the districts where actually the action is happening. So we have the same level of understanding and motivation at the district manager level.
Yes, please. Dr. Talib, Dr. Zay, would you like to answer?
So your question is that how to translate whatever we are discussing. Definitely, I think engagement of the district managers is very, very crucial. And we had seen that, Dr. Harris, during the CIP implementation that we, under the leadership of Honorable Minister, we went to each and every district. We sat with the Deputy Commissioner and invited Department of Health, Population, PPHI at one table, and that made wonders. So I think after that, we have seen that up till now, we are receiving reports from the district managers, whether from Population or Department of Health. Continuously they send their reports on a prescribed pro forma. So I think the lessons from this seminar and from this report are very vital. And this report definitely relates to what we need to do. So I think the next step should be to have district seminars, so that this report is then everyone is sensitized. And the report discusses global experiences, which also include our experiences, like Pakistan, even Sindh. So I think we need to move to the districts and meet the district managers and to provide to them. A summary of the report should be translated into Sindhi, Urdu for all the managers.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Shapane, I would request you to give your last stance on this panel discussion and conclude the session by your mindful sight.
Thank you very much. I am very impressed with the quality of discussion. It's really inspiring. All the discussion is deep and right to the point. The takeaways that I have looked at is, the first observation is that there is general agreement that what has come in the report speaks perfectly to the situation in Pakistan. And there is general agreement that the investment in gender equality is also applies in the country. The second point is that there is an issue of governance need to be looked at. And population is not the only challenge for economic development, but also the utilization of the potential of the country, including all assets in the country. For example, the tourism is almost zero. With all these assets in the country, there are opportunities for expansion, for income and fresh dollars to come to the country. Not only to look at the demography as the only game changer. The third observation, that there are too many initiatives positive in the right direction. But some of the initiatives are going into opposite directions. And therefore, there is a need to develop a holistic model where all sectors speak to the same outcome using the result-based management approach in order to focus on the outcome, not only in the output. This applies to the CCI discussion. This applies to the budget formation. It speaks to the incentives that are given to have more babies by different programs and so on and so forth. The other observation, social agenda needs to take higher position in the priority list. There is focus on economic agenda, but most of the challenges are coming from social origin. And this is where the work on social norms become very relevant. This is what speaks to what Ayman said, to challenge the barriers that make the performance of family planning less efficient. Moving from funding to financing is a must. Funding, we can do it. This can give momentum, but for short term. In order to have it in the long term and to keep accumulating on the gains, it has to be in the structure of the government. The allocation of the budgets with the target that we would like to achieve, and this also, as we discussed, Madam Minister, yesterday, in the NFC, it has to be linked to the objectives to encourage provinces to achieve on different targets, not only to look at the demand-driven, but also to look at the future objectives that we would like to achieve. When I met with the head of the World Bank maybe 20 years ago, he asked us, he was inviting us for a dinner, and he asked everybody around the table, if I give you $100 million today, where do you put this money? Where do you invest? Some of us spoke about security, about tourism, and then at the end, to make the story short, he said, if I'm given these, I will put it in education. Education. And in a country like Pakistan, where are there 22 million students are out of school, is a very important challenge. This is where the role of the students is extremely important in the work that we are doing. I would like to stop at this point, but would like to add one last thing, which is data. Data function in the country needs to be reformed. Access to information is very, very important. All these students cannot do causal analysis unless they have access to microdata. They cannot do regression analysis without having access to microdata. If they are given tables, they can just do description. And allow me, I'm coming from Muslim country, so we have too many fatwa. Everybody keeps saying fatwa and everything. If you ask any one of us about anything, they can speak their own version from their own experience. But data tells us what is the closest part to the truth. Therefore, data is very important. And Madam Minister, with the chief ministers and others, you need to think about the census as an important machinery. Now the census is under attack because of political discussion around it, and I'm afraid census will be assassinated as a function. And if this happens, that will not be good for the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. My appreciation for esteemed panel of experts from the field making profound discussion and intellectual conversation for the future of Pakistan. I would like to express my gratitude to SZABIST President, Madam Shahnaz Wazir Ali. Please come upon stage and provide a vote of thanks. Thank you, Madam.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Honorable Minister for Health and Population, Government of Sindh, Dr. Azra Fazal Pechuho Sahiba, and also as she's our Chancellor, so I think for us this is a double bonus to have her here. Our guests, honored guests, the Consul Generals of various countries, Sayyid Qasim Sumro Sahib. That's a fatwa. Qasim Sumro Sahib. An MPA from Sindh, and more importantly, the chairperson of the Provincial Assembly Standing Committee for Health. Today has been an extraordinary discussion. I want to thank the panelists in particular for their very thoughtful comments and for the wide-ranging perspective on population. And this is in the context of the status of the World Population Report here today. I will certainly not repeat a lot of the extremely insightful observations, comments, and analysis, and some suggestions that have been made. I just want to link a few things together. We are very pleased, Dr. Louis Shabani, to partner with you in hosting this event here at SZABIST. And extremely thankful to your particular team, who has worked with my team here, with the public health team, Dr. Samira Rizvi in particular, and Nida Shoaib, and other members of our public health faculty. This is a report that has followed another very important report, which you also referred to, which is the World Bank's Human Capital Review on Pakistan. So for our audience that is sitting here, which consists of experts, researchers, and people who work in the family planning population sector, as well as our students and media, I would say really the two reports have to be read together. Because the Pakistan Human Capital Review tells you all about those indicators on nutrition, water, security, employment, empowerment, education, and family planning services, healthcare services, etc., and ties them together in such a way, your report ties them together in such a way that both the reports are eminently important for anybody who's working in the development sectors, because this is not just about family planning or population. This is about the economic systems and structures and priorities. This is about all the social sector areas. So I would be just making that very important link for you, that let us look at both reports together, because there's an absolute clear-cut interlinkage between these two. And this report is certainly very, very interesting. It has presented various terminologies, and this is particularly for our students, which often we are not aware of. It talks about population alarmists, those who are alarmed about the rising rate of population. It talks about the demographic winter, which is taking place in many countries where there isn't even, there's sub-replacement level fertility, and their populations are reducing, and they're increasingly dependent upon migration. It talks about demographic resilience, which is all about environment and climate change. It also talks about demographic bonuses. So the terminologies and the paradigm is very, very interesting and much deeper, and I think much more comprehensive than what we've seen in previous reports. So why have we done it, had this talk here at a university platform? Basically, it is really to move closer towards establishing a link between academia, research, policy analysis, and implementation, and government leadership, and government departments, as well as our national and international partners. And I hope that we can play this role. Ms. Behram Gol, who represents UNFPA here, has visited us frequently, and I'm very appreciative of that. And so are several other international and national NGOs that are placed in Sindh. And SZABIST would very much like to continue to play this role so that you can have an open discourse, not in a hotel setting, not in a five-star hotel setting, but in the heart of academia. And I hope that many other universities will also do the same. Thank you all very, very much for your presence, for your rapt attention, for the very useful observations and comments that were made. And we are taking several suggestions away from the discussion today that the panelists made, as well as Dr. Azra's suggestion in particular about marital counseling and premarital testing. And I think our public health department can play a very vital role in this. Thank you very much. I, as president of SZABIST, am very pleased to host this.
Thank you, Madam, for gracing the stage. I request now Dr. Louis to present a shield to our esteemed President SZABIST as a token of utmost respect. Dr. Samira, please, would you like to come on stage? Dr. Samira Ali Rizvi. Yes, please. This is fine. Now the shield will be presented to our esteemed panelist, Mr. Syed Asad Ali Shah, as a token of appreciation. So say that. Now we present the shield to highly respectable Dr. Zaid Dahar as a token of appreciation. Now the shield will be presented to our honorable panelist, Dr. Talib Lashari. Please, sir, receive as a token of appreciation. Kindly, Ms. Ayman Harun, accept your shield as a token of appreciation. Thank you. The shield will be presented to Dr. Samira Ali Rizvi for organizing and moderating the event. And last, it's for me, Dr. Nida, that's all. I would request Madam Minister and Mr. Qasim Sumro, yes, Dr. Yasmin Qazi, Haris, please can we have a group photo? And the counselor, please. Please come on stage so we can have a group photo. Ms. Behram Gul, please come on stage for a group photo. Thank you, please. Thank you. We are extremely grateful to our esteemed guests for sparing your valuable time and being part of this event. It was an honor to have you all with us. Dear all, event has successfully come to an end. I thank SZABIST and UNFPA team for making it successful. It wouldn't have been possible for your tireless efforts. I request my ushers to escort our esteemed guests to designated refreshment areas. Please enjoy your meal. Thank you. Ushers, kindly escort our guests towards the designated refreshment areas.